with your contribution and responses. We'll start with the prayer. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma sarupane avatar varishtaya ramakrishnaya te namaha. So yesterday we were dwelling on this idea of story and how story can be a method and how we can use stories in our regular life as well as when we are using it as a pedagogical tool, how best we can employ that and make the best of this particular tool. We have in a peripheral way browsed through different nuances of story, not only as a performance for entertainment, but also looking into the intricate design that the story provides for comprehension, for transferring of knowledge, for structuring the idea of understanding something. All these we had tried to explore in bits and pieces. And apart from that, we also thought of structuring stories in our classrooms. We also tried to find out how stories can be embodied, how we as a person can enter the world of stories, how we live in stories, and how stories live in us. All these things we had tried to explore. Do not mind the absence of light because there was a sudden load shedding, but we have a generator, so it will soon start. But I think you can hear me because I hope you can hear me. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can.
Fine. So we will start with again a video this time, and let's see if we can see that. And thereafter we will go into the aspects of Nāṭyaśāstra, Rasa, Dhvani, and then move into the orality as an infrastructure. We will try to study that. Okay, so let's see this video. This is a very interesting video. I hope you would like it, and from there we would enter the world of Nāṭyaśāstra and Rasa. If you are not able to hear the audio part of it, please let me know, because audio is equally interesting as the visuals.
So I don't think we can hear the audio.
Okay. Because when I am sharing it from my personal video, it is the audio is not shareable, but not an issue. I'll share it from YouTube. So I started with this particular video because I could have shown some very, classical performance of Kathakali or Kudiyattam, or maybe contemporary music, or of classical Carnatic songs, or I could have shown a contemporary, musical composition. But here there is a kind of very interesting synchronization of the past and the present, the classical and the contemporary, in every aspect, from music to performance to choreography, and definitely the use of the video medium is something that has added to this performance. Now, when you see this performance, as you are all aware of the Navarasas, what particular rasa you could experience or you felt while you saw this performance? If you can just note it down, it would be interesting. What rasa was that you felt when you saw this? Okay, Karuna. Interesting. Let us not go with the language, with the visuals. We can, okay, Karuna, sadness and confusion. Yes, it's Tamil. Fear, wonder, uncertainty. It's better if you don't understand Tamil and the entire sonic atmosphere that was created by the music and the visual atmosphere that was created by it, and then what you received is anxiety, uncertainty. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay. So if you look at the different rasas, you must be knowing that there are 8 rasas, which has been mentioned there by Bharata in his Nāṭyaśāstra. And they start with Sringara, and then you have Hasya, and then you have Adbhuta, you have Raudra, you have Bhayanaka, you have Bibhatsa, you have Veera, and definitely there is the Shanta Rasa also there, which is the 9th one added by Abhinavagupta. So these are the primary 8 rasas which are mentioned in Nāṭyaśāstra. Today, we would like to look into this world of rasa, which we keep on hearing because now it has been a very popular thing in Western aesthetic study also, because people like Philip Zarrilli, people like Richard Schechner, they are talking about rasa in their performances or in their idea of performances. They are adopting things from Nāṭyaśāstra. Apart from Sanskrit scholars in the West who are also dealing with rasa, but they are more dealing with the theoretical aspect of rasa. But in the performative aspect, you have people starting from Arto and then Grotowski, and then moving into contemporary performing artists, as well as scholars like Schechner talking about rasa boxes that they have tried to uh, discuss in their study of performances. So what we will do now is we will look at how rasa had been a very popular idea in India. When did it emerge? What are the different texts, and how can we bring rasa in our classrooms? Or why do we discuss rasa for people who are involved in emanating knowledge or transferring knowledge, sharing knowledge, creating an atmosphere of learning? How does rasa play a very important role? And then definitely I will touch a little bit on Dhvani and then move into orality, because a teacher or a professor or an educator or a facilitator is continuously engaging into oral performance in the classroom space. So first and foremost, if you see, rasa is not only mentioned in Nāṭyaśāstra, but it has its presence also in Rig Veda, means in Vedas, Atharva Veda, and then definitely in the Upanishads, where there is a prominent, a prominent example of rasa, the word rasa being used. And we need to see how this use of rasa has transformed before it entered into the world of Nāṭyaśāstra. If you look at Rig Veda, where rasa is mentioned when they are talking about water, when the rishis are talking about milk or juice. There we find rasa being mentioned in the Vedas. In Atharva Veda also it is mentioned, and that is why later on we see Bharata mentioning that this concept of rasa is coming from Atharva Veda, because different elements of Natya has been taken from different Vedic scriptures. So rasa is something that had been taken from Atharva Veda. But in the Vedas, it is basically an object, like water, like juice, like milk. And in Atharva Veda, there is a slight hint towards essence, like rasa is being compared with essence, means which is inherent in an object and not the object as such. The quality of the object. When the object is being experienced, then the kind of thing that you experience, the essence of that object is rasa. When you come to the Upanishad, a very important mention of rasa is there in Taittiriya Upanishad, where it says that, I just read out that portion. It is saying, Yadvai tat sukritam rasavai saha rasam hai evayam labdhva nandi bhavati. So this is in Taittiriya Upanishad, Yadvai tat sukritam rasavai saha rasam hai evayam labdhva nandi bhavati. The simple English translation of this is, only after perceiving the essence can you experience the bliss. To experience the blissful state, you need to first experience the rasa, experience the essence. And that is what it is. Rasa is that which you are experiencing. Now, there had been a lot of scholars discussing it and saying rasa vaisa is like rasa is something similar to the blissful experience. Blissful experience means the experience of the absolute, experience of Brahman. the final experience that we are all seeking, that we are all proceeding, that is what they are talking about. So in the Upanishad, some feel that the experience of Brahma, means Brahma Swada, is somewhat similar to Rasa Swada, is equal to Rasa Swada, equivalent to, not equal, they are saying equivalent to Rasa Swada. And later contemporary scholars are also looking at, wherein I'm also trying to find out if Rasa Swada is equal to Brahma Swada. Can you reach that state of experiencing the absolute through the experience of rasa? There are hints where Abhinavagupta and later Jagannatha, Pandit Jagannatha, when they are discussing rasa, there are hints where it might be that they are trying to kind of express rasa experience as Brahma experience also, experience of the absolute truth or absolute. Now, in this particular session, we are going to look, as I have already said, about these aspects. And then our first understanding would be that how rasa is an affective cognition. How rasa is an affective cognition. So, because this cognition, the knowing that is happening in the classroom while you are teaching a particular subject, how is rasa playing a very important role there? And definitely, I would talk about the different aspects of rasa in different states of experience in the classroom also. So when I was talking about rasa that has been described in the Vedas and in the Upanishads, and when it enters the world of Natya, so this entire period from Vedas to Natya, maybe a huge amount of time that has passed. And then when it enters the world of Nāṭyaśāstra, there we find what is rasa and how rasa could be created and what happens to rasa, the person who is experiencing rasa. And how can he or she participate in the creation of this rasa and experience of this rasa. These are elements which are hinted more or less in Nāṭyaśāstra, but later on we find scholars like Abhinavagupta and Bhoja and Vishwanatha, as I mentioned, Jagannatha, and later on, maybe tomorrow, we would discuss how it has entered the world of bhakti, where Rūpa Gosvāmin uses rasa in a very interesting way. And that also we would try to posit in a way where academic learning, where knowledge sharing can be a very elementary part in that exercise. So, if you look at the rasa that is being explained, or maybe the line which is talking about creation of rasa, we find there is another element that comes into play, and that is bhava. So we also have to understand what bhava is and how rasa and bhava is related. Because when we are talking about rasa creation, it is saying that rasa is created through the merging of vibhava, anubhava, and vyabhichari bhava. So vibhava, anubhava, vyabhichari bhava, samyoga rasa nispattihi. So coming together of vibhava, anubhava, and vyabhichari bhava creates rasa. Before we go into the discussion of bhavas, let us look into this aspect of rasa which I was saying. Because there in the Vedas, when you are using rasa for water, for juice, it is more like a material. But slowly it turns very sophisticated, very subtle, and it becomes the essence, which we find in the Upanishads. It's talking about the essence, the true essence of truth that you are experiencing. When you are talking about essence, it becomes very abstract. Even things like truth, definitely you are experiencing truth through hearing, through your sensory organs, like hearing or seeing or by touching. You are experiencing the truth of this table. I touch or I see the table, or I make a sound and then I hear, and then I can confirm that this is the table. So truth is there, but the truth itself is something more than your sensory experiences. It actually levitates from the sensorial experience to another realm where you experience the truth. Here too, when we are talking about rasa, and you are talking about essence, you are talking about juice, you are talking about taste, that when you are tasting, it is not to that physical sensory experience, but it also moves beyond. It takes a leap, it elevates and takes a leap from your sensorial experiences to another realm. And that is why Abhinavagupta calls it chamatkara or alaukika. It is something that you are unable to describe. Similar is the description of Brahman. If you are told to describe the experience of Brahman, you cannot. That is why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that Brahman kabhi jhootha nahi hua. Means Brahman eto haini. Eto haini means it was never ever completely described. You cannot describe what Brahman or the experience of Brahman is. So similarly, rasa is something that you are unable to describe, unable to define. All the different kinds of English translation, Hindi translation, Bengali translation, Tamil translation, any language, you won't be able to describe that experience. It is more like mathematics, that it is like calculus. When you are always tending towards zero or infinity, but you are never equal to it. Similarly, all these descriptions that you are using is tending towards that experience of rasa, but you are unable to describe it. So according to scholars, rasa is definitely a sensorial experience, but then it kind of takes a leap. And that is that aesthetic leap which takes you to the realm or a transcendental state where you experience the rasa. Now, when it is said that the different kinds of rasa, the different divisions of rasa is there, it emerges from the bhava. So there are similar divisions of bhava. And when you describe these bhavas and their different types, especially there are three kinds of bhavas. One is the sthayi bhava, then is sanchari or vyabhichari bhava, and the other one is sattvika bhava. We won't talk much about sattvika bhava. We talk more about the sthayi and sanchari bhava, or the vyabhichari, because in the creation of rasa or the experience of rasa, it is said that vibhava, anubhava, and vyabhichari bhava. So all these three are coming together. So we will discuss this sthayi bhava and the vyabhichari bhava also to see how they play a role in giving this rasa experience. Now, if you look at when it is said that combination of these is actually having rasa nishpatti, the rasa experience is happening, the question is, what are they doing? If you see when the example that Bharata is trying to give about rasa experience, he is giving an example of a food being tasted. And he is saying that like vibhava, anubhava, vyavichari bhava coming together and giving, and then you experience rasa. He is saying it is like different things that you make while you create a food, that you mix while you create a food, like you add spices, you add salt, you add vegetables, you add water, turmeric, and then kind of cook it. And after cooking that, you create the food, and then you experience the food, the taste, the food that is similar to this rasa experience. When masalas like vibhava, anubhava, vyavichari bhava, they come together and prepare this experience. So therefore, we need to understand vibhava, anubhava, and vyavichari bhava also. But before we, that is another kind of a discussion that we need to do is who is experiencing this rasa. Is it only the person who is kind of consuming the food is experiencing the rasa? Or if you give the example of food, then the person who is cooking, is also there, and he's smelling the food, the different flavors of the food, and then he also looks at the color that is changing while you are preparing that masaledar food. He's looking at that. What is happening to the person who is creating that? So there is a kind of a debate on that with the scholars, that the person who is creating that rasa is also experiencing rasa or not. Like Abhinavagupta, very, very kind of specifically, he mentions that it is being experienced only by the audience, not by the actor who is involved in creating that rasa, who is actually creating, like an actor who is performing a particular role of Rama, or a particular role of Dushyanta, or of Shakuntala. Are they also experiencing rasa? In this question, later scholars like Bhoja and Vishwanatha, and later on definitely Rūpa Gosvāmin, he is talking about the performer also experiencing rasa, and which is also my interest. Because is the teacher who is teaching the subject also is able to experience that rasa or not? Or is it only the students who would experience that rasa? That is the question. It is only the person who is receiving it. Now, in this case, there are these other couple of words which crops up or which pops up, is sumana, sahridaya. These words are describing the person who is experiencing this. And definitely later on, we will also try to understand the word sadharinikarana, which is also has been coined by Abhinav. So what is it saying? Sumana, who is actually experiencing, is the pure mind. To experience that rasa, a pure mind is required. Many a times what happens in contemporary classroom situation, a child is coming through the streets and he is going through all the turbulences of modern life, jams, rushes, crowds, traffic, pollution, and then enters the classroom to receive what you are offering. And if you look at the state of this state of the mind of this particular scholar, he is not in a state of sumana. And that is why this question of empathy or the creation of empathy many a times often doesn't happen. And that is why it was necessary, and we see it in our past, that gurukulas were required, a kind of an ambience, a kind of an atmosphere. And even European universities, if you see, are very quiet. And contemporary India, many Indian universities also, they are very spacious with lovely trees around. And why this ambience is also required is to create that state of sumana. If you don't have that sumana, despite your efforts of creating that rasa experience through which the cognition would happen, doesn't happen in the classroom. And then we have different, excuses of, modern children with less attention, not focused, not interested, culturally kind of disorganized, culturally they have different flaws. We come up with these excuses. But actually, we are not able to provide that atmosphere where this kind of connoisseurs of knowledge could be created. Connoisseurs of art could be created. Connoisseurs of rasa could be created. So these sumana and sahridaya states can only be created with such kind of ambiences, which is very important. Educational institutes in the center of the city is though it is very reachable, you have a lot of what you call other facilities of doing a lot of things, staying there for a longer period of time, and many other benefits might be there. But this one condition which I have mentioned is also that we need, as an educator, we need to think about this. Now we come to the aspect of bhava. Before we go there, as we saw the video, I would now like to ask, you have mentioned that what all emotions you have felt. I would just wish you to let me know that where actually can you locate the place in your body where you were feeling this particular rasa, or you were unable to locate it? Is it somewhere that you are unable to locate that? Can you just mention that when you were seeing the video, can you identify certain location that this is the place where I was feeling something? Is there a particular place where you would like to mention? Yes. Anyone?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So I felt fear, and that kind of heartbeats raised, especially when the girl was descending
Right.
into a kind of an abyss. She was just walking down the stairs, and there was no end.
Right.
So kind of a speeding up of or stepping up of heartbeats, and then suddenly you have written something called a trigger also. So that's when it started, and then when he narrowed his eyes, the dancer, when he narrowed his eyes with those long talons of his nails, that really scared. That really scared.
Okay. Okay. Okay, fine. So maybe from the heart center, and then did it spread across the body, that fear?
Of course, it kind of I did not want to look any further, but it was quite fascinating, so I kept looking.
Okay, lovely. Lovely. It is, that is why I feel that even the scholars are mentioning that the changes in your body that happens, the physical experience that you are undergoing when you are experiencing a particular rasa is also very interesting to study. The neuroaesthetic studies are actually looking into these. They are doing MRI studies. They are trying to find out what changes are happening in your neural system and how your not only heartbeats, but you're feeling warmer, or you feel cold, or you start sweating, or there is horripilation. All these kind of symptoms you can physically see when you are experiencing a piece of art. And so you can understand that how interesting the cognition is not happening only in your mind, but the body is also participating in that cognition. So this is something that I want to. Anyone else would like to share something about the experience? Yes? Anyone else? Okay, so let us proceed from here. So I was talking about the rasa experience, what rasa is, and now how rasa is being created. And then I would also like to talk about some of the scholars like Bhatta Lolata, then Bhatta Nayaka, then Shankuka. What do they interpret of the lines that has been said by Bharata? How are they interpreting? Because Bharata has mentioned them more like an axiom, did not kind of provide a lot of discussion about it. And Rasa is a very small chapter in the 36 chapters of Nāṭyaśāstra, and Bharata doesn't dwell deeply into on the nuances of rasa. It is later scholars that we find, like from 8th century we find Bhatta Lolata, then in the 9th century we find Shankuka, then in the 10th century we find Bhatta Nayaka, and definitely Abhinavagupta in his book, phenomenal book, Abhinavabhāratī. Because all these Shankuka, Bhatta Nayaka, Bhatta Lolata, whatever they said, we don't have their original writings. Their claims are being referred by Abhinavagupta in his Abhinavabhāratī. So from there we kind of assume, or rather we structure what these scholars have said as mentioned by Abhinavagupta. So missing of these texts have definitely created a lot of knowledge gap. But definitely later scholars, whatever the little they have started, and that is why the debate is very strong. You see, what Bhatta Lolata, when it is said that these three elements are actually constructing rasa, Bhatta Lolata is saying that it is that these bhavas are actually generating the rasa. So it is utpatti is happening. So it is known as utpatti bhava, where the bhavas actually generate or create the rasa. Whereas Shankuka saying is it is not. It is the inference. It is kind of an experience that you are inferencing. From these bhavas, you are inferencing something, and that is the rasa. But Bhatta Lolata is saying that no, it is creating, it is transforming, and it is making that. But later on we see Bhatta Nayaka and definitely the others, and which Abhinavagupta also endorses, is that the bhavas are already there, and this is a kind of a transcendental experience which is created by the bhavas, but that experience had already been there in you. It is just that revelation of that truth that is already there in you. So very interesting interpretation of rasa experiences are there. So now we look into these various aspects, like what rasa is, who can experience rasa, the sumana, the sahridaya vyakti, who actually kind of experiences that, and what happens, like whether bhava is converted, transforming into rasa, or bhava is actually pushing you to infer something different, and that is rasa, or the rasa is already there and bhava is actually kind of bringing that rasa into your experience, into your cognition, like you are cognizing that only when these bhavas come together, all these vibhava, anubhava, vyabhichari bhava. Now what is vibhava? For an example, that you are moving in a forest, and when you are going into the forest, you have heard there are tigers, and then you see at a distance this glittering two eyes glowing like fire. And when you see these glowing eyes, what happens to you? You are experiencing fear, you are sweating, you are shivering, your hair has risen, you are having goosebumps, you are unable to move, you have become static. Now, this example is very interesting because here we can look into these three aspects: vibhava, anubhava, and vyabhichari bhava. What is vibhava? Vibhava is this cause. It has been different. Two things are there: the situation and the cause, the alamban and the uddipana. Alambana is the cause, which is also vibhava. This, what is the cause? The cause is the presence of the tiger. The cause is the presence of tiger, and alambana is the situation that has been created there. Forest, darkness, you are alone, nobody is around, dense forest, this entire ambience that is there, which is an exciting, or which is kind of instigating, or rather increasing the experience. So that is uddipana. So alambana is the main cause of that rasa, and uddipana are the other elements which are present. Like if it was, instead of fear, sringara, Radha is experiencing sringara, Krishna is the cause. But what are alambanas, the different other elements? Uddipana, which is creating, maybe the feather of the peacock, or maybe a piece of cloth that Krishna had left, maybe the kunjabana, the forest, that balls of the kunja, that is kind of enforcing the experience. So similarly here, the tiger is the vibhava, and anubhava, you are feeling all those things that is happening to you. You are sweating, your heartbeat has increased, all these feelings that you are having. And vyabhichari bhava, what are the vyabhichari bhava? The different kind of, sweating, horripilation, goosebumps, static state of the body. You can't budge, you can't move. All these things are vyabhichari bhavas. There are 33 vyabhichari bhavas. And what happens? All these three combine together to give you that experience of bhaya, bhayanaka. And what is this bhava? is bhaya. This bhaya is giving you this experience of bhayanaka, fear. And when you are experiencing this bhaya, that is the question, that whether these three elements are creating this, or these three elements are giving you a signal, a kind of where through which you can infer that bhayanaka experience. Or was bhayanaka and a kind of an experience which already existed in you, and these three are actually clearing that, that bulb that was hidden by dust, and you are experiencing that. So keeping these things in mind, we find that rasa is something that is very, very unique. At the same time, it is also generic. So when we have understood how rasa is being created by these three elements, we have understood who experiences the rasa. Then we look into that, what rasa is actually. We have seen that. And then we move into Dhvani, because the Dhvani scholar also spoke about rasa, and they brought in this idea of combination of Dhvani and rasa. As I said, that I will briefly mention about Dhvani, and Dhvani is a suggestion, a kind of hinting of things which actually would give this rasa experience. So scholars like Anandavardhana, who comes up with this Dhvani Karika, and in this Dhanvaloka also, he describes that how suggestions helps us to get this experience. Like if, and very interesting examples have been given by scholars about this suggestive way of using language. Because all of our cognition, whether it is visual, or it is auditory, or it is through kinesthetic, some experience, or through touch, whatever cognition that is happening, whatever understanding that you are happening, is conceivable, or rather describable, only because language is there. And so to understand language also is a very important aspect when you are looking at rasa or dhvani. So dhvani has been mentioned in Dhvani Karika, and definitely scholars who have also opposed the concept or the theory of Dhvani, they are saying that Dhvani is when we are saying a particular sentence, or we are giving a description through language, there is a direct understanding of what that language is talking about, and there is something that it is hinting at. There are certain lakshanas which you extract out of that sentence. So, and that state where you understand these lakshanas, you get a different experiences. For an example, I give a very simple example, and then we'll go to something that is very classical. A simple example is that two lovers meet in a garden, and they secretly meet there. But it so happens that an ascetic, passes through that garden when they are meeting. And this ascetic comes quite often. And so the lovers get a little bit disturbed. And so one day, this wonderful lady tells this ascetic that And the girl knew that there was a dog in this garden which this ascetic was scared of. And he would be very cautiously moving into the garden and, pluck the flowers and then walk around and definitely look at these, uh, two lovers also. But they felt very awkward when the look of the ascetic would. So the girl then says that, sir, now there is no problem. The dog has been killed. And the dog has been killed by a ferocious lion. So you can freely walk now. You have no fear now of that dog which you were scared of. Because this ferocious lion has killed that dog and is around the bushes here itself. So this is what she says. A positive sentence that the dog is no more who used to scare you. But tell me, what is the, what is the feeling? What is the reaction of the of that ascetic? What would be the reaction of the ascetic, and why? Yes, a bigger fear. Yes, some more. Like, what response would you receive from this particular ascetic? Yes, because of the presence of the lion, the fear has escalated. It has doubled. Now here, this Dhvani is considered to be the soul of poetry, because it is not only giving you the literal meaning, but it actually solves the problem of the lovers, because then he would not return. But this is a very assertive sentence telling the ascetic that you are free now to kind of loiter, move around in this garden, because the cause of your fear is not there. But a different element is added to that sentence, which causes a greater fear and which suggests a negative statement that please do not come here again. And definitely you know why he wouldn't come. So this is the interesting part of use of Dhvani in poetry, which creates rasa. So in classical literature, you would see that this kind of rasa is created through poetry. And the soul of poetry is Dhvani. These kind of images that shoot out beyond the literal meaning of those sentences. So poetry is profound, poetry is deeper. So when we are studying the way Indian aesthetics operate, we find these kind of extremely sophisticated idea of creating or using language. So is there any question? I see a hand raised, or yes? Anyone? Okay. So we have almost come to the fag end. This Dhvani and Rasa come together, and we will just take another 5-6 minutes more, because I would love to listen to the 6 pointed stories that you have created, and then we want to also give you certain suggestions that how you would use these aspect of Rasa and Dhvani in your story. So what I meant to say, that even when Valmiki is walking by the river Tamasa with his disciple Bharadwaj, and he's looking at the crystal clear water of Tamasa river, and he is seeing that this is similar to a quiet, calm, Shanta rasa he is experiencing. And then there is this hunter who actually shoots these two croucher birds who are sitting on the branch and were making love. And when they were making love, this arrow goes and hits this male croucher bird, and the bird dies. The experience of the female croucher bird immediately affects Valmiki, and then the poetry emerges out of it. This experience of Valmiki is very interesting because Bharata mentions that whether, later on scholars are talking that whether it is a rasa experience or not. Because Bharata is talking about that rasa experience can only happen if it is in us, if aesthetic elements, the dramatic elements are present there. If it is not drama, if it is not poetry, you won't kind of experience rasa. That is what Bharata is saying. But it was a natural thing that Valmiki is saying. Valmiki is seeing two birds and the birds die. Then how is that experience a rasa experience? How is it being, so what is this aspect of sadharanikarana happening there? Just a minute. How is that a rasa, this experience made into a universal experience? Later on, we see that Bharata is also mentioning that the experience of the poet, experience of the performer, and the aesthete, they all are similar. And there I find that even the teacher, even the performer, even the actor also experiences rasa. Not only the audience, but also the performer. Because the performer is also getting those elements. As I said, one who is cooking is also experiencing through smelling that food, is experiencing through cooking that food. And what is this cooking? If you consider this cooking in the classroom, it is the aspect of Abhinaya, which I will talk later tomorrow. I will include this element of Abhinaya, and we will talk also of orality, because it is almost time is, we have almost completed 1 hour. So another 3 minutes where we would talk about, or I would like you to share your 6-line stories. And from those 6-line stories, we would like to find out what rasa is there. I would request you to identify the rasa. Now, when you are trying to identify the rasa, you would also have to look at the bhavas. And when you are looking at the bhavas, you have to find out what is the sthayi bhava. Sthayi bhava is the dominant bhava, which is there throughout. And what is dominant bhava? Suppose we are talking about Radha's, when Krishna is not present, the unrequited love of Radha, how when she is feeling Sringara as the dominant rasa, but there are other temporary bhavas also there, like she is angry with Krishna. She is also a little bit fear is there, because she is thinking, what has happened to Krishna? Why is he not coming? Is he facing some kind of danger? All these questions and elements of fear is there. So all these, but they are temporal. But the deep-rooted experience of the deep-rooted bhava that is present in Radha is love, is Sringara. That is throughout. That is like the substratum. But on that, you have these small elements of other experiences. So the substratum is sthai bhava, and the others, the anger, the fear, then disgust. Oh, I'm not going to meet Krishna anymore. All these other elements are like vyabhichari bhavas. So we need to find out in your storyline, what are those sthai bhavas and what are those vyabhichari bhavas. Only this much you would be working on for tonight and tomorrow, or to tomorrow morning. And then next day we will go deeper into Abhinaya, where we use these concepts of or rather we create bhavas in the classroom. How do we do? And then we look into the cognition aspect, which I'm trying to share with all of you. Now I would just like to hear any one of the 6 lines of your stories, like any one example where you have written a story. I hope you have written. Tomorrow again we would hear 2 or 3. We'll start with that and then move into the discussion. Anyone?
So can I speak?
Yes, Shalini ji, please, if you can share.
Namaskar, sir.
Yes.
I think the one of the best example is when Mata Yashoda,
Yeah.
she I think she tied Bal Krishna
Yes.
and just asking her ki why you have eaten the butters from the others,
Okay.
and there she shows the Vatsalya ras,
Right.
and similarly she's showing some anger,
Right.
and at the same time she's trying to show the love of a mother, that is the
Right.
Vatsalya.
You're
So
right.
this is how I'm trying to make a story of 6 9.
Okay. So have you written those 6 lines? Like the 6 lines that I had actually kind of
No, I just have one thought about that कि मैया मोरी मैं नहीं माखन खायो,
Okay.
भोर भयो गैयन के पाछे.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
that, sir. So I'm just trying to make it as a story.
Lovely, lovely. So, will it be possible for you to kind of, get the story next day?
Sure,
Yeah.
sir. I'll do that.
Acha. And here is somebody mentioning about Kauravas, like Arjun is feeling while facing the army of the Kauravas. Yes, yes. Can you just share a little bit, Miss Mamta? Yeah, for others also, because it's almost time, we would definitely meet with
Sir,
the.
is this fine what I told you about that, the
Oh, yes,
Vatsalya?
yes, yes, definitely. Work on that. Create those, say, just write down those 6 lines, and then we will see that how we can create or perform that with the elements of bhavas and rasas in your mind, and also how different aspects of Abhinaya we would try to include and look at performative aspect of a particular concept of an idea. Okay?
So is it mean see that the poetic devices can also be used as a rasa, sir?
Poetic devices, this is very interesting. Like all these figures of speech or poetic devices, these are something very comparable to Dhvani, suggesting things. So when you are writing those lines, you can, I would like you to use this aspect of different poetic devices, how you are kind of using them. Definitely you can use that, and that Dhvani would create the rasa. We will look into that also, how it is being created. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Shalini ji. Mamta ji, very interesting. So we will also like to hear from you. All of you, those who are participating, please have a 6-line story. Mona ma'am, yes, please. Yes, Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, you can go with the hare and the tortoise
Sir,
story.
Sir, I wonder if the last part of the Ramayana, where Sita says that I will not come back to you, the entire thing, whether it can be related to Veera Rasa, especially if I remember I have been teaching a play called Nagamandala by Girish
Girish
Karnad,
Karnad.
and we have
Yes.
equated the to Sita and the way that she conceals the snake in her hair and everything. So can we those as Veera Rasa?
See, it is the way you look at, you just, yesterday also when I told you the hare and the tortoise story, the hare and the tortoise story had been interpreted in so many ways. So it is the way you look at that. An epic allows you that freedom, that how you are looking at every instance that is being described. Epic has that liberty. It provides you that opportunity, and epics like Mahabharata and Ramayana provide you that freedom, that you can use any particular lens to look at those different activities, and that is the richness of epics. So you need not fear about it. You have to see that how you are positing Rasa for this particular act. You can go ahead with that. Okay? Is it okay, ma'am? Yeah, very good. Vijayalakshmi ma'am, you
Yes,
can
sir.
briefly let me know, and then we can kind of call it a day.
Good evening. I just mentioned about hare and tortoise story, but I will go with my own storyline with the having the same characters but with different perspective. I'm going to write down whatever the
Yeah,
6 lines you are mentioning, maybe
correct.
10 line it may, and according to
Okay,
that, I will
why I said
to
6 lines is I want you to be that very precise. So 6 lines, try to express it. Try not to kind of
okay.
cross.
Thank you.
Try. Yeah.
Only 2 rasas I will mention into those 6 lines.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you so much, sir. Good night.
Please go ahead. Okay, thank you, everyone. We would also like to, see some more interesting stories from your end. And thank you very much for being